got 25 minutes. We got to go.
Hey, what's up, Say That Nation? Happy Wednesday, everybody. We are super excited to have you with us today. It's another beautiful Wednesday in New York. If you're in the New York area, this was kind of weird this morning, right? Kind of cloudy, but we got much brighter now. It's a nice day. We're really excited to have you on. Winston is having some technical issues, but we've been there before, right? And usually it was me. So it's totally fine. As we wait for him to get on, I just, again, want to thank you all for joining us today. And if this is your first time with us, go ahead and drop a 1 in the comment section. We go back and we look at all the comments. So whether you're with us live or if you're watching this on the replay, just go ahead and put a 1 if this is your first time with us. We are happy to have you with us. And I just want to share with you a little bit about how we do things here and why we're even here. Basically, we are unapologetic about talking about the ugly come up, right? We all hear those stories about how people have massive success that have come from nothing. But what happens in the middle, right? What happens during the ugly come up? And so we love to talk about that. That's what we're here for. And what we do is we have a topic of the day and we have 25 minutes to answer the question of the day. And then we run out of time. Oh no. But don't worry, for all of you that are our Patreon members on Patreon, you can continue with us with the conversation in overtime. And on overtime and all that, the description, all that is down below. You can catch the rest of the conversation. So I am really excited to not only be with you today, but also to talk to you about our topic today. So let's go ahead and bring that up. Oh, there's Winston. So today's topic is what happens when life happens as an entrepreneur, right? Because life is happening literally right now. Life be happening.
Legitimately.
Life is happening. But what we do, many of us keep moving forward, as they say, fix your crown, and champions adjust. So as we adjust here on our side, I'm really excited because it is not myself and Winston who will be answering this question alone. We have an amazing guest with us today. Sorry, and I'm just pulling up some stuff while we get all of that ready. So our guest is honestly one of the most lovely, brightest people that I've ever met. She is a mentor to many people. She's a coach to many people. She's all about fitness, mental health. You may see her moving. Some of you saw the videos on Instagram, right? You may have seen her. She's all about movement and living your best life at any age. She is such an amazing, bright light in this world, and I'm super excited to bring to the proverbial stage Dionne Monsanto.
Our next guest.
She is.
Y'all made me look good. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the things that we love doing. It's so cool to see people in their elements. And so we love to share that with everyone else. So everyone else can see our guests as they do what they do so well.
Aw, I appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much for being on with us today. I honestly couldn't think of a better person to talk to about this particular topic. But before we get into that, I would love if you could just take a few moments and share with everyone, people who don't know you, if you could talk to them about how you got into entrepreneurship, right? Like, did you start in the corporate world and then did the entrepreneur? Were you always an entrepreneur? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, I hail from Caribbean background. So, you got to get your degree in one of 3 areas, right? So I got my degree in accounting and went straight to Morgan Stanley. So I had that good job. I was in corporate America, had my, 2.5 kids in the house. And because 9 to 5 was not fulfilling, I always had a 5 to 9, as my girlfriend termed it. So It's like, all right, you go to work, and then afterward you do the stuff that feeds your heart and fills your soul. And, the dance company that I was in, the theater company that I was in, treasurer for the theater company, building shutdowns at Hunter College, like the activism work and all this sort of stuff. And then at some point, as you get older and the kids get older, and it's like, this is getting to be tired to have a 9 to 5 and a 5 to 9 in the house and the kids. And it's like, there has to be a different way to do this. There has to be like, how could I do one thing that feeds my heart and I don't have to be as tired?
Right.
So that transition, but the really, this already, but the part that really cut it and made me say like, all right, I can't do this anymore was ultimately actually a major tragedy. So my daughter died 11 years ago, and I was at Morgan Stanley, and I was out on medical leave when she died. And when I went back after medical leave, it was just like, I can't do this. Like, I am not the same human that I was before this child died. And the way I used to grind and the way I used to move through the world had just changed. And I was like, corporate culture is not exactly going to change for you, Dionne. And if this isn't working for you, you'll have to move. I had an amazing therapist throughout all the time my daughter was ill. She did die by suicide. And so while we were going through all of her mental health challenges, I had a therapist that was phenomenal support for me. And we knew I was in an environment that was toxic, and I ultimately needed to leave. And her death, my transformation, and just seeing like, Sesame Street, one of these things doesn't belong.
Right.
Like, oh, it's me. I don't fit here anymore. So I had to move myself. And that was hard. It was a little scary, but I had a passion for yoga. So my last day was, I believe, March 12th of 2012. And I went immediately to California into yoga teacher training in April of 2012 and started teaching yoga full time at June of 2012 when I came back home from Bikram yoga teacher training. Started a dance studio. I was already in a dance company, so I went back to being in the dance company. So it was dance and yoga, and I was hustling. At any given day, I could be at one of 7 studios. So,
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Native New Yorker on that grind. Have Metro card, have token. We're going to get there.
That's real. Well, thank you for sharing, and for even sharing that bit about what happened with your daughter. Because many people I feel like I think it's probably been overstated at this point, right? Especially coming through the pandemic, just how important mental health is. And so I feel like there's been like this renewed focus on everyone just really needing to, take care of their mental health. And for you, like it was made very clear by what happened because of your daughter that like you now needed to make your mental health a priority, because certainly being in that corporate position wasn't going to work for you. And even though many people have different ways in which they get there, it's super relatable, right? Like so many people like are in the corporate world and just like, I don't belong here, right? Like this is not like inhumane. It doesn't work. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the big things about me in every space always is that I show up as me. Like I have on an African dress. I love the picture you picked of me. I was in a tea plantation in Limuru in Kenya, and so happy to be in this tea plantation because I love tea. And just like I'd go to work in my African attire, then I'd go to African dance performance. So I teach and perform. They were like, somebody would come to pay me at work. They were like, oh, you look like this at work. I said, I look like me everywhere I am. Like,
That's
what
awesome.
you got? Yeah. I interviewed at Morgan Stanley with little cowrie shells in my hair when I started, when my locks were baby locks. People are like, you're an accountant. You have to take that shell out of your hair. You can't do that. I'm like, look, this is what they get. If they can't get it, then it's not for me. So
that is also real.
The woman's hair is a big part of that journey in corporate America.
It is, right? And I mean, and we can speak as like 3 people of color, like, yeah, Black people's hair, it is almost weaponized, right? Because there have been like laws put in place that like you can't have your hair a certain way and like or must have it a particular way, like the opposite. So that's like a big deal for you. It's a statement of like, this is me, this is who I am, and so you're either gonna take it or leave it.
Yeah. I went ultra conservative in the beginning. It was only blue suits, black suits, gray suits, but you're getting my hair. You're getting these. You're getting these locks.
That's awesome. All right. Well, so I'm sure people can tell already, you know, like what happens when life happens, right? So you just basically gave us one of the most intimate stories about like a particular life circumstance happening. Talk to us about now you're like running your businesses and like life doesn't stop, right? So talk to us about that.
There's a lot of fun in it. And there's a lot of, I think, as someone that's always been an onstage performer, right? So my mom, love my mom. Thanks, Mom. I was like always a major klutz. So she put me in dance classes and I was one of these kids that ran her mouth forever. Like, all the parents, you know, that kid that as soon as their eyelids go up, the jaw goes down and they keep talking. So that aspect of I'm always talking, I'm always running, I'm always going, and the dancing and the performance. And then when I shifted into this world, it's like, okay, we're on. So if I'm having a bad day, if I'm feeling sick, if it was children's theater, there's that performer aspect of my life and my being where it's like, okay, we're going to turn this smile on and walk in and it's going to be showtime. Like I get to fall apart right afterward, but I'm going to show up in this moment and taking this coaching stand or this performer stand of I'm putting on a character to hold space for all of us. And that was really, I think I got it first when I did children's theater when I was younger. And then as a business owner walking into the yoga studio and I've had a bad day. Like, let's say I've had lots of breakups in relationships. That's a different conversation. But, you know, like you break up with somebody, you had a fight with somebody, there's something going on. And it's like, and I still got to do this presentation. I still have to teach this class. And to walk into that studio and just take a moment and take a breath and say, I'm holding space for others and we're going to heal together. And in the same way, talking to you both and the audience and saying that, like, I'm here. You know, it's been a rough day. It's been a rough couple of years. It's been a rough month. Life is lifing in this moment, but we're going to get through this next 90 minutes together. And that, I think, has helped me connect to people. So when they say, I'm not showing up as perfect as the yoga teacher, I'm not the best yoga teacher. I'm not the most flexible yoga teacher. I'm not doing handstands and headstands. You know, I fall down and I get up. Like you and I are learning together. And I think that's the part of it that always comes in. It's like, how are you? It's like, on a scale of 1 to 10, today's about a 6. Yeah, it's about a 6, but maybe together we'll get to 8.
Nice.
So I think that aspect of togetherness and honesty of, I'm not good. I'm going to be good, but right now I'm not good. And I think that's the part that has had, you know, my people, my tribe find me because they're like, wow, you don't act like you're perfect. I was like, 'cause I'm not, you know? And then especially in performing arts, since as a public speaker, as a coach, as a dancer, there's a lot of expectations about what your body should look like. And you don't see that from the pictures you showed, but I've been everything from a 6 to a 2X. When things were really rough with my daughter, I ate my way up 70 pounds. You know, and then I was like, okay, I need to heal myself. So people watched me on that journey of eating my pain and releasing my pain. Like you physically saw it on my physical body.
Wow.
And watching what that health concern was. And I think now with some of my clients as a coach, they get, it's like, oh, one of my yoga students, I wish I could remember her name, but I can see her face clearly. I heard her talking about me in the locker room and she was saying, yeah, she used to be one of us. And I walk in, I was like, what do you mean I used to be one of us? Like we're in the women's locker room. We're women. Like, what do you mean? And she was like, you used to be a big girl. I'm like, oh, okay. Like this was a separate clubs. Like I was like, well, I didn't even know how to respond to that. But it was like, however, as long as you can relate to me, if you want to transform your body, because I'm not about making any particular size wrong.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But for her to be like, yeah, Deanna's, she used to be one of us. I'm like, it's a black woman say, well, who am I now? You're a black woman. I'm a black woman.
Right.
It's like, you're not a big girl anymore, And I'm far from skinny, y'all. Y'all saw them thighs in that Coach picture. Them thighs, though. But
all good. They're loved.
I love them. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Brittany's question there. Wow.
It's true. We always ask, how are you? And the robotics response is, I'm fine, without taking a breath to think and answer honestly. So I was thinking the same thing, Brittany, when I was listening to Dionne's response. I was like, man, that's amazing, because you were giving space for people to like be whatever they are in that moment. Like, it's okay to like not be okay, right?
Yeah. One of my answers to specifically to Brittany, because she put that out there. I do recall when someone said to me at one point, they're like, how are you? And I was like, I am dying with a smile on my face. And like, we're going back before the it's okay to not be okay and all that stuff. I was at Morgan Stanley going like, I'm dying with a smile on my face. Like, this smile shows up. So like, this is me happy and this is me sad. I was like, but I've posted pictures and really been distraught about something, and people would look at me and like, wow, you look great. Your skin is so beautiful. And I'm like, wow. I have no idea how I'm presenting to you as beautiful and calm, but inside I am miserable. So when all of these cases came up with various breakdowns, and with stars, from Britney Spears to ultimate deaths, feeling like, I get it. I haven't made those choices. I haven't struggled. I don't have a diagnosis, but I am blessed to be able to give words to the less than positive emotions I feel when I feel them. And I'm not embarrassed to say, Winston, I feel like crap today, but let's see what we could do.
Yeah.
So you roll around in the mud. People take mud baths to cleanse. So sometimes you got to jump into that.
Yeah.
Man, that is like a quote in itself. People take mud baths to cleanse.
Yeah, that dirt pulls it out, right? Charcoal, people are all the rage. You want a charcoal mask. You want charcoal toothpaste. You want charcoal in your water.
Yeah.
It's that darkness that pulls out the muck and gets you to a different point. So I think all of that darkness and leaping into it and locking arms, like literally grabbing whoever's to my right and my left, going, okay, I can't stand up by myself, but we're going to do this together. We're going to do this together. And speaking that into existence.
That's so profound at this point. So I recently attended a mental wealth expo that was put together by Charlemagne the God and sponsored by 105. And he has a mental wealth association, I believe it's called. So shout out to him. Big shout out to Charlemagne or Larry. One of the things that was mentioned several times is how it's really important to we live in a society where it's like not okay to be vulnerable. Like, people think you'll be weak if you share that you're not feeling okay, right? And how that's an unhealthy way to be in and of itself. So I appreciate your honesty, because it feels so refreshing, just because it's so real, and yet people feel like they can't. There's something like holding them back from being able to be honest about how they're truly feeling. It really is like a breath of fresh air just to hear you say that. Because once you do that, it allows other people to be like, you know what, I can do that too. I can. Oh, good. I'm not the only one who's like,
hey, Liano. And I definitely think, I'm so glad he's here. That's my cousin.
Oh,
So he also hails from St. Thomas. That aspect, and I was going to bring that in, in terms of our family. I think I got it from my mom and my grandmother, when people just spit out how they feel. Like, if you want to hear, go into a Caribbean restaurant and talk about how you're feeling. Everybody's going to be talking. You're going to get all the all the chirps and the conversation, and people just tell it. But it does feel like it's a closed environment. So you just putting it out there within the family, but you will also don't put your business out on the street like that.
Right.
And I did used to get in trouble with my grandmother for that. She goes, "You just always want to be out there. You're just telling people." I was like, I know I'm not alone.
right.
I know Janelle and Brittany and Winston and Leon. I was like, I know I'm not the only one feeling like this, and I don't want to feel like I'm alone. So I need to say it. I need to say that. So yeah.
Right. That's right. So a couple of things. One, I just wanted to point out that Deanna said a lot of it. And also Brittany put up a hashtag, thick thighs saves lives. Just say it. So everything that you just said makes me think about the fact that you're an author. And I would love to talk a little bit about that, as I am too a recently published author myself. And both you and I ended up talking about like our lives, right, in our books. And what was if none of you have got, oh man, I'll go grab it later, but like, because I have it, I was gonna like show it, like, here's my copy. It's a great book, so I actually highly recommend it. And one of the things that I was thinking about as you were talking is like, but there's someone else out there. So tell us a little bit about why you decided to write this book, 101 Ways to Live in Joy.
I don't want to give away like as a spoiler in the book, but the big part of it was my daughter was a writer. And, at some point in school, people tell you things that you're not. So I didn't feel like I was a good writer and she was a writer, but I felt as though I needed to give stories. And I'm such a storyteller. I tell stories when I teach yoga. I tell stories when I teach dance. I tell stories. And there were so many stories to tell, but I don't want to write a biography. And people are always asking, like, how did you get over your daughter's death? How did you lose the weight? How did you get out of corporate America? And so within a memoir format, I could give a little story that you could connect to, because I really feel like whatever makes me special is what makes you special. And I really needed the connection and the relatability for somebody to see one element in one path of movement and getting out of your way, and it not being perfect. Like, done is better than perfect. Is that book perfect? No. But it's done, and it's healing, and it's inspiring, even with things that can be changed. And, I won't say maybe. Book two might be better. Book two might be worse. But whatever it is, it'll be what it's supposed to be. And it's like getting it done. Just getting it done and letting somebody know that they can do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
That's a powerful perspective.
Yeah, that, and even all of it. It's like, even when I feel like people like St. Thomas is United States Virgin Islands, but my grandmother coming here from there, when people are kind of like, oh, this is where you are, this is where you're born, where you stay, and moving. I can move. I can change industries. I can transform my body. I can gain weight. I can lose weight. I cannot be a writer and then be a writer. All of it is possible. And every time I do a little something different, I show up and show that it is possible. And that's, that was important for me, because I definitely remember being that person in school that's like, oh, the paper wasn't right, so I didn't turn it in. It's like, so you got a 0 instead of a 70?
Right.
How does that make sense? Right. Like, and so it's like, oh, you turn in something and not making excuses. Like, I was good for the, like, well, it was due on this day and I didn't turn it in, so I missed that opportunity. But being in communication, going, so-and-so was sick, or so-and-so died, or we moved. I didn't believe we were moving, and we moved. That's a real story, but yeah. And those fabulous moves that happen in bags instead of boxes. So you're like, oh, we're really going to a new place. I didn't think that was going to happen. So I didn't do my homework, and I didn't wear the right clothes because I couldn't find my clothes because I didn't know which plastic bag they were in, but because we moved, but they were all there. It's how do you just like, all right, we're going to start a new fashion trend. We're going to wear dad's shirts and dad's overalls. It was in. We're going back to the 80s, right? High school. So it was like, now the wife beater. It was like the racing back tank before, but right? With a tank and the overalls and sneakers. It wasn't a look back then when we started doing it. Then it was like, well, it's going to be a look because that's what I got. So just leaning in with, I'm here and what I got is what you're going to get. And I'm not alone. Somebody's going to be able to relate to what I'm giving. And that always makes me so happy when somebody DMs me. Still to this day, there'll be somebody that'll slide into my DMs on Instagram with the dance videos and just moving my body to shake stuff off. One of my yoga students typed in the last chat, she said, what did she say in there? When in doubt, dance it out. I told her I was going to use that one out. I was like, yes, when in doubt, dance it out. I was like, girl, I feel
seen that. Yes.
I said, I feel seen. You get me. When in doubt, dance it out. Oh, yes, Leanna. Oh, my God. Like, Leanna wasn't a dancer, and he came here and went to college and joined the dance company. Oh,
I can't believe we're already out of time. Like, did we just started?
We did just start. That was 10 minutes. That wasn't 25 minutes. That was 10 minutes.
I mean, really. Well, I just also want to say, yes, like what Liana just said, I think highlights for me one of my biggest takeaways from what you just said. Just this idea that like what you are now isn't limiting. You can be whatever you want tomorrow, next month, the next day, right? Like it's all possible. And by you showing people, you know, that you've been able to do it, it like helps others know that they can do it too. And that just like doing it out of that perspective, like wanting to do it, if only just to show people that it can be done and it doesn't need to be perfect. Like that's
really good.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
And telling somebody you're going to do it helps too. That accountability. Like when I wrote this book a year before it was published, literally. And I was like, okay. And so I told people, I was like, okay, I'm going to release it on March 8th. And I was like, oh my God, I said I was going to release it on March 8th. Now I have to do it.
Wait. Okay, this we need to get into overtime.
Yeah.
I need to know about this accountability stuff. What is this? This is important. So yes, thank you so much for sharing your story. This is going to help so many people. I am more than certain. For those of you that are on Instagram, you can find her. She will respond to your messages. You can find her. Oh, wait, hold on. I got to put that in. Okay, so while I do that, I will also say, please get her book. You can get it on Amazon. Dionne, hold on. I can't type and talk at the same time, guys. Sorry. Let's see, come on.
Dionne, can you hold your book up again?
Oh, gladly.
There we go. Awesome. So please go ahead. It's 100 Ways to Live in Joy. And that is not a misspelling. It is intentional. It's INJOY, because she does believe that you can live your life in joy, which is that in itself is pretty inspirational. There she is on Instagram. She's a real person. She will respond. So if you want to reach out to her, please do. I honestly, the dance thing, you had me at dance. It gets me too. I really love it. Okay.
Shake all the negativity off. Dance it off.
Say that.
For all of our community members that are on Patreon, go ahead and pop on over. We'll see you over there. If you're not one of our community members, you can just go ahead and become one of our members right now as we jump over. We're super excited that you're there. Hit the like button, subscribe, all those things. But as always, remember you deserve a good life. Say that.
We'll see you guys in a couple minutes, Patreon.